One-time Alabama sportscaster, then to Indianapolis, and now part of the ACC network, Taylor Tannebaum jumps on the show with us now on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Taylor, welcome back to the show. Did I see you back in Indianapolis during 500 weekend? Were you back that weekend?
First of all, it's always an honor and a pleasure to join some of my favorite guys in the world. So, and to be on the airwaves in Alabama again, it's always sweet home for me. And I did go back to Indiana. That was the first time I've been back since I left, and I never have gone to the race as a fan. So I saw places of the track I'd never seen before, and it was awesome. Or everyone, I always say about Talladega, you have to go once. You got to go to Daytona once. You got to go to the Indy 500 once.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I was going to ask you that. When you were dominating Huntsville television, you had to have come to Talladega a good bit. How do they compare?
It's just, the pageantry is what it's all about. Right? Obviously, you go really fast. That's the best part of it, too. This is it's the largest single-day sporting event in the world. There's 300,000 plus people in one place. And it's mostly about the racing's awesome, obviously, but the history and the families who've gone for 50 years and passed down their tickets for years and years. Talladega gets a little rowdier. I mean, there's a rowdy bunch there in the infield in Indy, but Talladega, the partying is truly second to none.
Okay, so Talladega rowdier than the Indy 500.
Oh, that surprises you?
Well,
Indy 500 wine and cheese.
Yeah, there's no way.
At the 500, there's the snake pit, which gets really crazy. It's in turn 3, and it's but the Boulevard at Talladega, that's just you see some things that you can't unsee.
Okay, you cover the ACC. We were talking about Louisville earlier. Let's start with your alma mater, Florida State. You guys were starving for the year you had last year. Obviously, with the Jordan Travis injury. You guys did not close out the season you wanted to. I think Florida State under Mike Norvell this year is a fascinating study because they lose a lot. Obviously quarterback, you lose your two best defensive players. Where do you think Florida State stacks up this year in the ACC?
So I agree with you. I think they're interesting because there's no question they have talent, right? And what Mike Norvell has done over the last several years, especially coming from where they came from, is amazing. He's officially built the foundation back. So at this point, there's no excuse for them year in and year out not to be competing for a championship, right? This is the level that they've brought themselves back to. So I expect the same this year with very little drop off. The difference is last year coming back, you knew a lot about this team. It was dudes who decided, hey, I'm going to forgo the league for another year, or guys we've seen for several years coming back together. This year, you have really great pieces, but what do those pieces look like all together on the field? And DJ Uiagalelei, we obviously know from his time at Clemson, and he goes out to Oregon State and looked better. Numbers not necessarily strikingly different, but certainly took another step. I think that's the biggest case study is what DJU do you get? Because look, he's several years into his career. He kind of is who he is. Now it's going to be on Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins, the OC, to put their quarterback in the best position possible to win football games, right? He doesn't have to be the hero. He doesn't have to be Jordan Travis. But what I like about this coaching staff, especially Norvell and Atkins, is they put their people in the best position possible to succeed. And I think that's going to be the most fascinating watch, is how do they get the most out of DJU without forcing him to be the game-winning QB. He has so much talent around him. They have to utilize that and just let him kind of be, I know this can be a negative connotation, but more so a manager than anything else.
There was a time, Taylor Tannebaum is with us. Go follow Taylor on Twitter at Taylor Tannebaum and see her on ACC PM on the ACC network it's every day. Is it even every day in the offseason, Taylor? Are you guys doing that every day in the offseason as well?
Yeah, quite literally almost every day. Yeah, we're on every day for the month of June, 4 to 6. We'll take a July hiatus, but we'll be back.
Okay. I didn't know if you did it all summer long every day. So through the month of June, every day on ACC PM. So there are people that think Miami is resurgent this year as well with Cam Ward there. Might we finally, because when I was growing up, Taylor, Florida State, Miami,
I know.
That was the game that stopped everything in college football. I don't think we're quite there yet, obviously, but it feels like there's a little more pop to that rivalry than there has been in years past this year.
I hate that I'm saying this because we do this every freaking year. But I truly believe this is the year Miami is, do I say the word back? Do I say that?
Go ahead.
I'm really scared to say it. No, but it's not even that. I think they have to be. Like, this is the year they have to make that step. And I know it's year 3 under Mario Cristobal, and still, you're rebuilding something that had plateaued and fell off for a very, very long time. It hasn't been the Miami that we used to know for a very long time. But with the talent that you have, the 4 and 5 stars you've signed, and the way that Cristobal has worked the portal, there's absolutely no excuse for them not to be competing for an ACC championship this year. Look, 7 wins last year. They were a knee away from an 8th. Could have potentially won a bowl game. But that's just the truth. Listen, they should have won that Georgia Tech game, and maybe we're having a very different conversation. But you have to do better than 7 wins and 3 and 5 in the ACC. It was a step from year 1 under Cristobal, but it's got to be a giant leap because Cam Ward is elite. And everything we're hearing out of Miami is everything that you had heard with him transferring there and everything we had seen in his couple of years in college football. Damian Martinez coming down as the running back too. They have playmakers on the outside at wide receiver. And defensively, they're going to have dogs. And what I love is he's built it from the inside out. The offensive and defensive lines are solid. They have no excuse this year not to compete for an ACC championship. And you know what? You talk about Florida State, Miami, you get Florida, Miami right off the bat.
Yep.
And that's going to be a huge measuring stick, not only for Miami, but for Florida too. This is a big game.
Okay, if Miami's back and Florida State has staying power, Louisville played for ACC championship last year. Where does this leave Clemson?
Right up there. And then this is a big year for Clemson too. There's no question. Look, they have. I understand they haven't played for a national championship, right? And last year you can consider a down year, but at the end of the day, they're still winning 10 games a year. He's created sustainability. Now, Cade Klubnik has to take another step at quarterback this year. Garrett Riley in year 2 at offensive coordinator, you're comfortable now, right? You've got your bearings. You got to take that next step. Health is a huge thing for them. They've had really big health issues at wide receiver. They have talent. There's no question. Can they stay healthy? Defensively, I never worry about Clemson. They're stacked top to bottom, no question. The other part to that is last year, a lot of their miscues were on them. They fumbled and that ball away a ton. And I know the stat sheet won't necessarily show up. It's the wins and loss column that really jumps off the page. But they were a couple of fumbles away from us not even having this conversation this year. So Clemson needs to be at the top of the ACC, and they expect to be. Still had 9 wins last year. They looked really good in the bowl game against Kentucky in that ending. So if they can play off of how they finished the season, I think this could be a very, very different year. But no excuses at this point.
I've respected your work ethic for years. So I want to know how many times when you do your show notes for ACC PM have you said, oh, crap, that SMU fact I need to include because they're in the ACC now, or Cal and Stanford? Because I know I've messed up several times already with Texas and Oklahoma, and that makes more sense than SMU, California, and Stanford. Does that feel real yet to you at the ACC network?
So it's funny because ESPN just came out with their RPI. I saw you guys retweet it the other day, yesterday? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, this team's here now. So that would be 4 Big 12 teams and 7 SEC. It's so hard to realize what logos are now where. But yeah, we're starting now to integrate, like, oh, by the way, Stanford just won a women's golf championship. Like, they're joining the league in the next 2 months. You're starting to integrate it. It's strange. It's definitely strange. And I think we're all going to take some adjusting. But the reality is the reality, and you kind of have to roll with it. It's exciting because we all love new. New can be scary, but new can also be really exciting. I'm pumped that you guys have talked to Rhett Lashley to have him in the league as a head coach, because we know how talented he is as a coach and what he can put together there at SMU. And Cal and Stanford, selfishly, I'm excited because that means I get to go to California to the Bay. What they're rebuilding over there at Stanford, and Cal, has really arguably one of the best running backs in the country. So I'm excited to kind of watch him on this stage and see how it impacts the league and the whole race and just college landscape as a whole. what things are going to look like this year. It's going to be so different.
Most of your career in Alabama, SEC Media Days, was at the Galleria in Hoover. We're going to Dallas for SEC Media
I
Days
know.
this year. It's so crazy. To an ACC town, we're going to Dallas. You said a July hiatus for your show. Do you have a big vacation, a big trip planned up?
You guys, truly, the best thing that I want to do is not go anywhere. We travel so much, so I'm kind of just going to hang in Charlotte. I might go home to Fort Lauderdale for a couple weeks just to hang out with mom and dad and my brother. But other than
Fort
that,
Lauderdale's a vacation destination.
Yeah,
that's home for you. Most people vacation there.
I live at the beach in South Florida, so I'm kind of going to lay low, guys, because you know the grind of football season, it gets to you. So I'm going to charge up, and especially because we'll be doing the cross-country thing, we got to be ready to go.
You know, because she's from Fort Lauderdale, the thing I love most about Taylor, she is a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It's the year, Taylor. It's the year.
And you know what? When you cover college, you get really excited for the NFL draft. And Malik Washington, who played at Virginia, played at Northwestern before, Dolphins just drafted him, a wide receiver. Listen now, that's a steal.
Okay.
That's a steal.
Right.
So I'm excited for it.
Talladega, you said there are some things that you see, and I apologize for my voice. Awful today.
Lance went to a rave last night.
I did not. You see some things you can't unsee. You being from South Beach, the Clevelander, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen there?
Oh gosh, I've not gone to the Clevelander.
You don't need to.
I know that seems.
No, we stayed there. Alabama, Oklahoma. Was it Alabama, Oklahoma, or Alabama, Notre Dame?
Semifinal.
Yeah, Alabama, Oklahoma. We stayed. We did our show from the Clevelander. We're Levitard. I don't know if he still does, but we're Levitard studio, and we did our show from there at the Clevelander.
You'll see some slinglets that are being worn as bathing suits on people that should not be wearing them, just walking behind your live shot right now.
Dude, that was me. I had one on, and people made fun of me.
Yeah, that's a sight to see. What I do remember about Talladega several years ago was there was people wrestling in a pool of milk. It was sick. Might have been yogurt. I don't know.
That is
Barbecue
disgusting.
sauce one year because Brown and I emceed it.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That's very sad.
But it's awesome. It's awesome stuff. And hey, on the note for Louisville, I do like what Jeff Brom's doing. I think their schedule's a little tougher this year than it was last year. They had a nice path to the ACC championship. They're going to be a good ball club. But they got a much tougher haul to get there this year. But it's exciting to see what they're doing in the ACC.
I love that Taylor was prepared for Louisville because it's our preview too, but we never ask her about it.
Yeah.
No, do you want to know what's funny?
Yeah.
Is they were our preview. We talked about them yesterday.
Oh, really?
Show, weirdly enough.
Oh, that is interesting.
And I ran into Coach Brom when I was in Indy. I went to the Pacers Celtics game, and he was there wearing a Pacers shirt, doing his thing. So we got to chat it up a little bit.
Oh, cool. I like him. All right, Taylor Tannebaum on Twitter. That is where you follow her. See her on the ACC Network, ACC PM, every single afternoon through the month of June. Thank you very much, Taylor. Always great talking with you.
Appreciate you all so much. I hope to see you soon.
Yep, please do. Come by. We'll see you. Taylor with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.